Today on Noble Legends podcast, I have one of the greatest athletes in the history of Northern Virginia high school sports, Erin Keogh. She won so many big races, broke so many track records, won so many titles. I heard legend of Erin, for years, and it's so nice to meet you, Erin. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for joining me.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So you were a fantastic runner. You were I'm going to give your background, but I'm going to give the cliff notes because we'd be here a while. But you had four high school records when you were in high school. I'm not sure how many of them still stand, but the indoor 3K, the indoor 5K, the outdoor 3200, and the outdoor 5000. You were the first high school girl to ever break 10 minutes in the 3200. Um, you held the high school record of six of seven national cross country courses. You won two consecutive Kinney national titles, which is a cross country meet in San Diego. Two-time Gatorade Track Athlete of the Year. Amazing. Afterwards, you went to Texas. You're 87, Langley, went to Texas. You ended up getting a PhD in health education. Recently, you're a professor and chair at AT Still. It's a medical school, I believe, in Missouri.
Right? Yep. It's a school of osteopathy. Yep.
Okay, great. I'm not. What does that mean when you're osteopathic? What does that
So,
mean?
yeah, there's MD, which is Doctor of Medicine in Allopathic Medicine, and then there are DOs. Those are Doctors of Osteopathy, and that is osteopathic medicine. So they're just two different types of approaches to medical care, with osteopathy being much more holistic based. But I'm not a clinician. I'm an educator. And so the School of Osteopathy, which is AT Still University that I work for, has one college amongst several that is not that does non-clinical degrees. And so I chair the Doctor of Education in Health Professions Education programs in the College of Graduate Health Studies at that university. So it's teaching medical professionals how to teach. So after they've been clinicians for a while, sometimes they want to be professors and they need to know all of the various teaching and learning theories and strategies. And so that's what I do is run those programs.
Yeah. And did your success and your challenges as a runner, it's not to me, I love to run, but it's never fun in a race. You're all out and after it's over, it's fun. But are all those challenges and stuff as runners, does it help you in your work and what you do
Yeah,
now?
I mean, I think with the running successes, the successes and the records and all of that stuff that you were listing off, that is wonderful and it was really great. But for me personally, it was the process of the training and um and the getting ready for a race and all of that more actually than the race itself. So I'm a very process oriented person and I just enjoy the process. I dive into the process. And it's the same kind of way with my work. I enjoy the process of teaching and creating new degree programs and things like that. And so in that sense, I would say that developing kind of the process and leadership skills, so to speak, I guess, as a runner has transferred really well to my profession as a professor and leader of various degree programs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you became great in running, a lot of which was because your mother was what we called back then a jogger. So
She
your mother,
was, yes.
yeah, my dad was a jogger also. We don't use that term anymore, but your
Yeah.
mother, and that wasn't the most common thing in the world. Everyone runs now, but back then it was a little bit weird. My dad was an army guy, so they had the PT test, so he would run, and that's how he got started. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's how you got started. Do you think if your mother had been into, swimming or cycling or something, another type of endurance sport, you could have had the same success, or do you think you were meant to be a runner?
That's a great question. I mean, I did jog with her and that kind of thing, but where it really happened was I was going with my brother, who's a couple of years older than me. I have one sibling, he's a brother. And we were going to the McLean Community Center, which is maybe a mile from our house. And I guess I was third, fourth grade, something like that, maybe fifth grade, somewhere in elementary school. And we were signing him up for soccer or something like that. I think it was soccer. And they just had all these tables around, different things you could sign up for. And I don't know if it was me who saw the McLean Youth Track Club table or if it was my mom but it was just like, why not? I'll sign up for something too. And so I don't know if I initiated that or if she kind of, suggested it perhaps. Because neither of my parents really pushed me into anything. I just kind of, they would introduce me to things and then I just chose to do it or not. And so at that point, I did sign up, to do, I guess my mom signed me up to do the McLean Youth Track Club, is what it was called. And that's where I started more of the organized sport of running. And it was some track, it was some cross country. And I did meet one of the girls I ended up going to high school with, because it's all people in the community, you're in basically the same school district and that kind of thing. And we ended up going to the same high school and running together on the same track team and cross country team. And we're still in touch today and everything. And so I started with that. And I just really liked that as a sport, I guess. I mean, it was something I really enjoyed doing. And I really liked the coach. And that's kind of where it started, and the organized races and that kind of thing. And I don't recall taking it too seriously, but I was pretty good without a whole lot of work, And so you self-select to stuff that you're good at.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. Well, how did your mother get into running?
That's a great question. I mean, I do not know. I just know that she was not a runner growing up. And I think, she moved to the Washington, D.C. area when she was probably like after college to work for the federal government. I don't remember exactly what she was doing. And she got married and she had kids. And I think it was something she just kind of picked up. I don't really know why. She's always been relatively active.
Mhm.
And we were a relatively active family. We do like bike rides and that kind of thing. And so I think it was just a way for her to get some exercise, to be honest. I mean, and she always had very healthy food in the house, and so we had definitely like a family culture it was relatively health focused. And so it probably did start with her in terms of the nutrition and being relatively active. And I mean, I did other stuff though. I did gymnastics and I did horseback riding and I did soccer and I did other things and that I just wasn't very good at swimming,
Yeah.
which I was terrible at.
Yeah.
And so those things that I was not very good at, I sort of fell by the wayside. And then I guess I found the track club and I was pretty good at that. So I was like, okay, I'll just like stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to figure out who could have been your role models at the time. And the funny thing is,
Yeah.
there weren't that many long distance runners that I knew. Joan Benoit, right?
Right. Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of other. There's a lot of male, a lot of Ethiopians, but there wasn't a lot of female role models at the time.
No, there weren't. But I think I've thought about that because I've been asked that question before, like who is my role model? And I mean, the truth is I just really enjoyed running
Mhm.
and I still do. And I've always enjoyed running more than I've actually enjoyed racing. Racing is great. It's sort of what happens when you're pretty good. You just kind of find yourself in those environments. But I still run. I just got back from a run. That's why I'm like, in fact, I'm going to the gym next to do all the strength exercises I've got to do in order to keep running.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a lifestyle for me. And, I would call myself a lifestyle athlete. I mean, at one point in time, it all just got really important with, you know, school and the context within which I was running. But the truth is, I just really have always loved running. And
Yeah.
to me, it's a way to be outside. I just detest running on treadmills and that kind of stuff,
Me
but
too.
I love running outside. So it's just the experience of running outside. I think through things, I process things. When I was in graduate school, I processed through my dissertation on my runs. You know, I did all of these things
Mm.
while running. I think through things. And so for me, it's just it's that maybe it's my therapy, maybe whatever it
Yeah.
is, it's my thing. I'm away, nobody really knows where I am. And I just really enjoy it. And I don't know many people like that, to be honest with you, who just really enjoy running. There's usually like a goal to do a race and that kind of thing. And maybe they enjoy it too, but I personally have always enjoyed running.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to who is my role model, I don't know that I really had one other
Mm.
than I just myself, you know,
Yeah.
I just enjoyed that time with myself and being outside and competing with myself, really.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned your brother Scott. Was Scott an athlete as well?
My brother Matt.
I'm sorry. I'm
Um,
sorry, Matt. Yeah.
yeah, it's close enough. They
Matt
both
Scott.
have two T's, right?
Yeah.
He was he ran a little bit, but he was more into doing other athletic things. Just yeah, I think he did some martial arts, and I think he, you know, he just kind of bopped around between different things. So he did do some running, but not for very long.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did read that it wasn't like you started running and you were like Forrest Gump. I mean, you weren't like the fastest right away. That it was a
No.
process. When did you know that you had some talent? And was it because of a particular coach or what put you in the right direction?
Yeah, I think that, you know, when I started at Langley High School, there were several girls who were seniors when I was a freshman, and they were really good. So, in fact, if I had to name some role models, it was probably them
Mhm.
because they were really good, and I was coming in almost as good, but not quite as good. And so I had somebody to look up to, and they were the ones with the records at that point in time. And so we also had this great coach. And he ran with us, which I really respected. He did the track workouts and all these kind of with us.
Is that
So he was,
Timo
yeah,
Dowd?
to my
Yeah.
dad, yep.
Mhm.
And so he did a lot of the workouts with us. And there's something about that I really liked. It was like, I mean, if I had had a coach that I don't know what the experience would have been like if somebody was telling me what to do, but they weren't doing it themselves. I don't really know because I didn't have that experience until I went to college.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that it was a real, uh, very positive, um, quality program that I was walking right into. And so that's a blessing. It could have not happened that way. And then what would have happened? I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I was just very blessed to happen to have walked right into that.
Yeah.
And so that helped tremendously.
Could you beat those runners right away? Like for example, at Robinson, there's a runner named
Mhm.
Lori Berkey. You remember
I
Lori
don't
Berkey?
remember that name, but for example, at Langley, it was Vicky Verinder,
Yeah.
Jenny Peterson,
Hmm.
and you know, I mean, those are the ones who really come to mind in terms of, let's see, Jenny Montgomery. Those were the three really good, you know,
Right.
long distance runners.
Right.
And yeah,
So Lori was probably about their age because I was 84, and
okay.
Lori was the most elite runner around in the eighth
What was the
grade.
last name?
Lori Berkey, Lori Berkey. I'll try to find more about her. I
Yeah.
haven't. She doesn't go to reunions. I just had her 40th.
Okay.
I was friends with her in college, in high school, but it was interesting in that when she was a girl, she was faster than everybody. She was faster than the women. But as she
Uh-huh.
became a woman, she had to work really hard to maintain the level because,
Yeah.
she could beat those women when she was a ninth grader. And then,
Mhm.
so she almost had an advantage being young, which is probably something that's normal in those kind of endurance sports, right? Or
Yeah,
yeah,
right. And
yeah.
I'm trying to how do you spell the last name? I don't know
It
why I'm
was
not.
Berkey. So she would have been 84. She was my year.
So graduated in 84.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So she
okay.
was 3 years older than you. So she would have been
Right.
the same class as those girls that you probably mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And was she, I guess, her event was cross country
She was
and
cross country and like
okay.
same as yours, and she was
Huh.
awesome. And I think freshman
Okay.
year she won the region, or she was up
Okay.
there. And then
Yeah.
she always was great,
Yeah.
but as she became a woman, it was just she got taller and it just got tougher for her.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
same with me. Yeah, no,
right,
I mean, I kind of, I wasn't as good in college as I was in high school,
right,
really. I mean,
yeah.
relatively speaking.
So that's
Yeah.
normal. So when you started at Langley, were you as good as the seniors right away, or did you work your way to be that good? Yeah.
That's a really a good question. I've thought about that. I think I was to a certain extent, but it was more kind of like, okay, I've got plenty of time. I'm just going to follow these girls and learn from them. And then next year, when they're not here, I will, follow in their footsteps, so to
Mhm.
speak. And so that's what I did. And so I feel like I was very, very close, if not as good.
Mm.
I mean, but yeah, it helped tremendously to follow them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, that's probably what helped me the most, in fact.
yeah, you're fortunate to be in the right program. I want to get back to running in a minute, but what about Langley? What are your memories of those are the Reagan years, those are the 80s in Langley High School. Other than track, do you have good memories of
I
Langley?
do. I mean, I love my whole childhood, to be honest with you. I loved growing up in the Washington, D.C. area. And we really did it to it. I mean, my mom took us to all the Smithsonian stuff and the whole thing, and all of I remember, just the Army, Navy bands on the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, I mean, all of it. We did it all. And lately, and it's just, it's great. McLean it's a great place to grow up. It's really interesting. A lot
Mm.
of interesting people. Um, and so I had a great experience. It was a very tough school. I thought it was a really tough school, Langley
Yeah,
High School.
still is.
But the running was fabulous around there, and that's a big deal to me. I mean, even now, it's like where I go, whether I'm traveling or living or whatever, it's like where I can run from there is really important. So Langley High School was very well situated, beautiful area. And so I loved running around there. And yeah, so I really enjoyed Langley High School.
Could you have been a regular student, divorced from your athletic exploits, or did your celebrity kind of overwhelm everything?
No, I thought the academics was pretty tough. I mean, I'm an academic, so I love school, I'm
Mhm.
nerdy that way, I guess. But I mean, yeah, like I could have, it's a great question. I mean, I felt like I was known as the runner. No, I mean, it just happened that way. I didn't mind that. Um, and most of my friends were those on the track team, and that's kind of all I had time for. So I probably wasn't the most balanced person.
Right.
I mean, I didn't, I have a 17-year-old and he's on the baseball team, but he's also in this, young life group and he plays guitar and he like has all this, he does all these other things. And he goes fishing and I'm like, how is he so balanced? I was not that balanced.
You admire that. You admire that about him, don't you?
I do. I
Yeah.
really admire that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I kind of admire that about my brother because he would do something for a while, then move into something else, and then try something else. And I was like running and school. So there are benefits to that. You're going to get really good at that one thing, which I did. But there's drawbacks too because it's not so balanced.
Mm.
So I try to introduce more balance in my life now, but yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I could have just, if I didn't have the running, I probably would have done something else with that time.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you would have been probably just as successful. When you think about the way the world is today and your celebrity then, you're one of those names So I started this podcast like 4 or 5 years ago, and I've had like Grant Hill and Tommy Amaker, Jill Ellis, some of the greatest names in Northern Virginia history. But you're a name like Alan Webb, or there's a few others that, you hear these names and everyone knows you're one of the best. So your celebrity was huge. But do you think it would have been different today in a day of social media? You think yeah, how do you think it would have been today? Or I guess you probably have no idea how it would have been today.
That's a great, I've wondered that myself because I didn't even have a video of myself running until my cousin, 10 years younger than me, dug one up
That's
from
cool.
the attic like 6 months ago. And it was on like a VHS player. And she had, her mother, my aunt had, taped one of the Kinney races that happened to be televised on some TV station in New Jersey. And yeah, like in 1986 or maybe it was 1985. And she digitized it and sent it to me. And that's the first time I've ever seen myself running. I
Wow.
mean, a video of me running.
That
Um,
would never happen today.
I'm right. Like, you got everything you do is on video.
Yeah.
And so I've always wondered, yeah, I've wondered myself, what it would be like, now, because everything is so live as it's happening. And I don't know, I feel like the pressure would be higher
Sure.
now
Yeah.
than it was back then. I kind of like that. I mean, I had a hard enough time with the attention back then. Just the publication, the articles and the interviews and everything. That was not something I was particularly inviting, or it wasn't a reason I was doing what I was. It just, again, it was just sort of like that's what you walk yourself into when you're doing this. It just
Mm.
happens. Um, yeah, like today, if I were doing it, I really don't know. I think I would have it would be even more attention than I had back then,
Yeah.
probably.
I'm sure of it. And when did you have the first breakthrough moment? When did you go from a good runner who's following the seniors to like, okay, this is a moment.
Um,
Oh, yeah. When did that happen?
well, I guess it was my junior year when I just started winning everything,
Mhm.
and whether it was a track race or a cross country race, I don't remember it being particularly a moment. I don't remember the moment exactly, but I remember I was breaking these records, and to me it was just like, well, okay, I ran, let's just run faster than I ran last time, and that kind of thing. It wasn't like I had a goal to set all these national records. It was more like, let's see how much I can challenge myself, like let's see how well I can do with this for my own sake. And that just happened to be the fastest at that time in the country too. I mean, but it wasn't what I was going for. I don't recall thinking that was why I was doing it. It was more because if I ran X number of minutes 2 weeks ago, I want to do faster this week, you know?
Yeah.
So it just sort of unfolded that way.
Yeah. How did that success change your personality? Like if it was me, I would become unbearable. If I'm winning races by a minute or so, I'm like, where is my dinner around here? I mean, I would just become, I mean, it would really, that kind of pressure and that kind of success would really change me. But
The,
how did it
the,
change your personality?
the pressure was high. I remember that because the questions I would be asked were not really questions I was asking myself particularly. And so I realized through those interviews and that kind of thing that the expectations for me were not the expectations I was having for myself. And so that was odd. I didn't really quite know how to come to terms with that. I just kind of let it go. Um, I just remember, and I'm sure you read this in one of the articles, what do you think about the Olympics? And I thought, I don't even know what I'm doing next month. I mean, much less 4 years down the road. So those questions kind of made me uncomfortable, but I wouldn't say it affected my personality at all. I think mostly it just made me what I, as upon reflection over the years, I feel like it's made me have huge self-confidence in pretty much anything I do. I just it That's why I love kids getting into anything that they can succeed in. They don't have to be the best or whatever. They just have to feel really good about what they did, and then that they did it well for themselves, and that's it. And they feel good about it, and they don't have to do it forever. But I feel like if you have that experience as a young person, then that stays with you forever. And
Absolutely.
so it feels like I feel like a very uh, self-confident person. Like I can kind of do anything I put my mind to. And that's the main thing I wish all young people had.
Yeah. You got to find your groove. So the fact that you're winning all these races, did it put a lot of pressure on local races? Like for example, your specialty really wasn't shorter races like the mile, but you'd run them and you could usually win those. But I read somewhere you lost to Wendy Neely, a name that I also
Mhm.
recognize, and a friend of mine, Amy Harms, would get close
Mhm.
to you. But they in a shorter race, it was you weren't quite as dominant. I mean, but after past a certain distance you were unbeatable. Did you feel the pressure not to run the shorter races because all of a sudden you were almost human and you wanted to just stick to the ones that you knew you were going to win by a minute or so?
I mean, the biggest joke was I was the slowest fast person, like it's true. And so I would laugh at myself at the fact that my mile was no faster than I do it really in a 2 mile race.
Mm.
And so it was kind of funny. I mean, we all joked about it in amongst my teammates. And it was funny. Like I can't even do a quarter yeah, like 1/4 is a quarter is a quarter. The time that I do that quarter in is going to be the same whether I'm doing a mile or a 5K, I mean, not totally, but pretty close.
Mm.
And so, um, no, to me, it was just kind of the running joke,
Yeah, yeah,
really,
yeah.
that I couldn't run. I thought it was kind of funny myself. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't run a half mile. I mean, and it reminded me a little bit of swimming when I was doing the shorter distances because I did swimming. I was on a swim team before I even started running, and I would just be swimming my heart out. And I felt like I was swimming so fast. And I'd be in a meet, and I'm like, "Choo, choo, choo," and I'd come in last,
Yeah.
and I'm like, honorable mention. I mean, I got enough of those light blue ribbons. I was like, all right, I'm a one speed person.
Yeah. Does it occur to you, and you were the kind of athlete that in the tradition of athletics, amateur athletes, Olympic athletes, nowadays, someone with your success could have made a lot of money at a very young age. I mean, a 15, 16-year-old, you could have made a lot of money. How do you feel about that? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, with all the kind of with the way they do it through social media and all that kind of
Well,
stuff.
yeah, and also the NIL and all the other ways that
Yeah,
athletes can
I
make money.
know.
Yeah,
Okay, I know about that.
right.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think that might just add, I don't want running to be something I feel pressure about.
Mhm.
And so I'm kind of glad that that was not a thing when I was running
Yeah.
because for me, especially, I mean, I'm 55. It's like I'm just all about longevity
Mm.
and peace,
Yeah.
feeling happy and, and healthy. And I don't think it would have, it's not the reason, it's never been a reason I've run. And I got to run on my own terms, the whole time. And as soon as I didn't feel like I was running on my own terms, I switched to running on my own terms. So, as far as I'm concerned, I really didn't miss out on anything.
Yeah. Well, how about when you win a race like the Kinney, a national title like that? Um, does it can you enjoy that, or does that just make you want more and you have to win another one? I mean, were you able to win big races like that and really relish what you accomplished?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because for me, I was at that point kind of competing with myself. I mean, and so I was fine with that. That's probably not ideal that I was didn't have much competition. Because then when I went to college and I did have competition, I didn't transfer. Didn't I wasn't prepared for that like I would have been if I had uh, more competition in high school. And so that's something I feel like missed out on is how to deal with more competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was perfectly fine and happy with, all of my races. But again, I wasn't so much of a competitive person as I was just enjoying life kind of
Yeah.
person,
Yeah. And when you win a title, a national title, were you still just as happy to win the state championship at Virginia? Did it still mean a lot, or did you kind of after a while you won? I mean, you're expected to win those, and there are some good runners in there, but still you're the heavy favorite.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great word that you just used. I was sort of expected to do it. It was more like I knew the expectation was that I would win it at that point, and I did, and it was just kind of like, okay, move on to the next thing.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know if that's good or bad. Like yeah, I mean, that expectation thing got a little tough
Yeah.
because it was, I don't know. I mean, it might have affected my level of joy of running a
Yeah,
little bit
of course.
because I wanted to I just love running. I didn't know it was going to come with all these expectations.
Yeah.
And it did for a while. And I understood that and I accepted it and went with it and did it. Um, but I remember doing an interview at some point in my senior year and saying, I just try to not worry about what other people think, and of course I was worrying about what other people think,
Yeah.
but I knew that that was a thing
Yeah.
that, that was a challenge for me. That whole um, dealing with those expectations was a challenge for me.
Yeah. And would you still get nervous before races that you knew you were
Oh,
going to win?
so nervous.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, because to me, that was part of it. Like I knew what nervousness did to you chemically. Like it really, like you kind of need that. You need to psych yourself up. And my headspace was like, I'm just like anybody else out here. I mean, there's nothing you know, I I never went into a race thinking I was going to win. I mean, I went in thinking I was probably going to lose.
Yeah.
And so so it was
You ran
sort of
in, you
like,
ran in fear of
yeah, I
failure. Yeah.
did. I did. That's probably not ideal,
Yeah.
but I did. You're right.
Yeah.
But that kind of worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to your choice of Texas, has the training changed a lot over the 40 years? I'd imagine so. I mean, do you
Yes.
think, I mean, as good as you were, would you have been much better with today's training?
Oh, absolutely. I've had a personal trainer for like the last 6 months only because I eventually got hamstring tendinopathy. I finally decided I couldn't run for the longest time. I've never been able to run in my life, which was like 6 months. And I finally did this platelet-rich plasma injection in the tendon, which was the thing that finally worked. And then that was the real wake up call. Like, okay, I got to do something. And the physical therapist gave me these strengthening exercises and this dynamic stretching routine to do every day, every time I go running and all this stuff, a gait analysis. Apparently, I got totally schooled in my running. I was doing it wrong for like 40 years. And this caused all sorts of issues. And no wonder I was always plagued with injuries because I never did any of this stuff. And so for the past I would say it's like 9 months now. I've been doing all of that stuff, and it has been an absolute game changer. I mean, the strengthening, if I had this strengthening routine, in the weight room, doing this resistance training, and this dynamic stretching and figuring out my gait, fixing my gait, and all of that. I mean, I think that I would have been way better off. I don't even know that we knew all of this,
Right.
but there's so much that you can do to prevent injuries and run better because you strengthen all this stuff. I mean, I always thought, well, I'm running. I mean, my legs are definitely strong. They're strong enough because
Yeah.
I run. Okay, there's all of these other little muscles that don't really get worked well enough, and then you overcompensate with the running muscles, and things just start to weaken over time. And so it's been a great experience learning all of this. It's almost like a whole new chapter of running for me.
Yeah. Well, so given that the training's so much better, we know so much more. It doesn't bother you that much when your records are broken because you know that
No.
people have things that you didn't have
Yeah,
access to.
I mean, I don't even know that it's that. I don't know why people are getting faster, but probably because they have times they have, they look at what the time is that where they need to break.
Mhm.
And so I feel like it's just a mental, like if you believe you can, if somebody else did it, it just changes the bar, you know? And when I was running, the bar was whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
And so beating those times was great, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, uh, but yeah, now that those times have been beat twofold, I
Mm.
mean, I think that's great because, and to me, it's just a testament to how, like beliefs, if you believe, if your beliefs are based on what's been done, then, it really affects how you're going to perform.
Oh, of course. What was your relationship with some of the other great runners in the area? Not your teammates at Langley, but like we talked about Wendy Neely and Amy
Mhm.
Harms, but there was Ellen Webb. There was I
Mhm.
don't know if you knew Megan McCarthy. She went to Robinson. I've interviewed her. But did you know the other great runners? Did you guys
I
have a relationship?
didn't really. I mean, the ones that I knew, I got friendly with some of the ones who went to the Kinney National race
Mhm.
because that was kind of cool getting to, because you actually spent time at that race. You were there for 3 days and you were doing these social things together. And so they were coming from all over the United States, and I still stay in touch with some of those people. But when it came to local athletes, I think I knew them less because we didn't really do anything. We didn't have opportunities to socialize. So that thing at Hotel Del Coronado and the whole San Diego
So nice.
experience was,
Yeah.
they did a great job with that because they really fostered connections. They did things that just got you hanging out and with people who think and who think like you do, train like you do. And so, you don't even realize until years later what an elite crowd that is.
Yeah.
And no wonder you gel with them because they're a little weird like you.
Exactly.
And so so that was a great experience. But locally, no, we never really had those types of experiences. So I didn't really get to know them as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, look, you end up going to Texas, and I know Tennessee had recruited a lot of track athletes in Northern Virginia. I'm not really sure about Texas. I think UNC may have, but why did you choose Texas? And who was the coach?
Yeah. So who was what?
Who was the coach at
Okay, it
Texas?
was
Yes.
Terry Crawford. And I guess I don't know how they do it now, but you had a certain number of recruiting trips that you could
Mhm.
do. And so I think they were University of Virginia, I went University of Virginia,
Oh,
University of Florida, University of Texas, uh, University of Wisconsin. I don't remember what the other one was, but um, so those were just the ones I decided to go to. I think because they were the top running schools for my events at that time.
mhm.
And I came to the University of Texas in Austin, which is still where I live. And it was 75 degrees
Mhm.
and sunny, and it was January, and I got snowed in. I couldn't go back to Virginia because there was this blizzard. And so I was like, as a weather person, I was like, I had done the whole running through the winter thing. Like part of it, honestly, was the weather, if I'm being totally honest. but also I've always been up for like just new adventures and going away. And so I loved the idea of going west to a different state I had never been to, and they had been winning NCAAs and everything was big and cool, and I had a great trip, and so I just went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you set a record in like the Texas 10 miler, I believe it is. Somewhere online I saw that, but maybe I got it wrong.
I
Texas,
don't know. I mean, like a road race?
yeah, it's a road race. But
No, I don't think so.
maybe I had it wrong. But
Yeah.
anyway, I wasn't able to find a lot about your running career at Texas. So what
Yeah.
happened? So what
So
happened?
the summer before my freshman year at Texas, I got iliotibial band friction syndrome, you know.
Mhm.
So that was really bad. And that was the first real injury I had had. And so I came though, it was the summer right before I started. So I came and I was saddled with that for the whole, at least first semester. And then I got this stress fracture in like one of my lumbar something or others. And, it was kind of one thing after another. And I was doing all this training, swimming and the running in this diving well at the University of Texas Swim Center. And I did some races, but honestly, the whole thing was it was like I just couldn't, it was this one injury after another thing, and I just could never really get out of that. And if I knew what know now around strength training and all of that stuff, I mean, I probably would have had a much better running career at Texas, but
Mhm.
I didn't. I mean, I couldn't get over whatever it was that I was, whatever was causing these injuries. I could just never really get my feet under me.
It
Yeah.
must have been, pretty demoralizing that you couldn't run A, but B, compete, because that's what you had done the last 4 years and
Yeah.
done so well. How did you deal with the fact that you couldn't compete and
Yeah,
run?
I did one pretty good race. I did it was Southwest Conference. I can't remember what year, maybe my sophomore year. And I did a 10K track race. I did pretty good there. Um, but how did I feel about it? Honestly, I'll be totally honest, like kind of relieved. Because
Mm,
I was like, I just wanted to be, I was like, yeah, I've done enough running. I mean, this isn't a job I want to do anyway. I mean, I want to do academics. I want to go to college. I want to be a regular college kid. In fact, I gave up my scholarship after my junior year. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do 1 year of being a college student, and that's it. And that's what I
mm,
did. And I went running every day around Town Lake, and I just totally enjoyed that year of being a college student and not having the pressure of trying to, do track too. And it wasn't like there was a lot of pressure. I was just tired of the injuries and everything.
yeah, of course.
And not, yeah, for whatever reason, it was just, again, like I was saying, it's kind of one thing after another. And so it didn't bother me that much because I could just kind of do my own thing, which is what
Mm,
I've always tended toward anyway when it
mhm.
came to running.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't working for the new context of college competition, then okay. I
Yeah.
mean, not a big deal, because I enjoyed Austin. I loved being a student. Um, and so it kind of got me going down a different path for myself. So I don't really regret it or anything. It was a choice of my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, last year, a woman from Robinson won the Marine Corps Marathon. Her name was Bonnie Axman. Well, I thought it was really cool. So I interviewed Bonnie. I met her. She was great. She was like a 2004 grad. So she's much younger than us, even though we're still very young, Erin. But when I talked to her, it reminded me of something you said. I asked her, she wasn't a very good runner in high school. And I think she went to Frostburg State, which was Division II, and her career was very spotty. And I asked her, like, how could, a person who can win the Marine Corps Marathon have a, you know, pretty, I don't want to say mediocre because it's much better than I ever did. And she says, well, you have to remember when you run marathons, it's a much different pace than running a 3 mile run. This is in high school. We run 3 miles. If you're lucky, there might be a 5 miler. And so as soon as the races got longer, that's when I started doing better. Did that work for you? Because you're saying you weren't very fast.
Yeah, I did some, yeah, I get it. I did some marathons. But again, like, and I did there was an Austin marathon that I ran, and I think it was something like, I think I was like the first American or something. I mean, one of those, I mean, realistically, I think I was like the third female, but it was like first American and for whatever. I mean, but, um, uh, so what was your question again?
Well,
Sorry.
she a marathon. It seems like someone with your profile who never was that fast would be even better at much
Okay.
longer races like a marathon.
hmm
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't enjoy the marathon, if I'm being totally honest. I've done like four of them,
Mhm.
and it's just too much of a good thing. I love running, but not that much. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't agree with that distance. I just don't agree that that's something to do.
Right.
And I remember like looking up like what is the history behind this whole marathon thing? Like why 26 miles? It was like some guy who invented this and he had never even run a marathon himself. I'm like,
Yeah.
see, like this is somebody just put this together.
Yeah.
Just because somebody put this together doesn't mean we have to do it. But anyway, not to dismiss everybody who's done amazing at
Exactly.
marathons, the race in itself as a race and everything, but not for me. Like I just don't. So to answer your question, I mean, I really loved, and I kept doing some 5Ks and some 10Ks, just local road races and that kind of thing. And I could still do that, just fine. So I prefer that distance. I mean, to me, it didn't translate into marathons. It was not something I did better at. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, 5K is perfect.
Me too. I love 5Ks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently got, I'm 18 minute or so. Back when I
Yeah,
was
that's
younger, not recently. But even 3 or 4 years ago, I could win like a local for my age
hmm
group. I could win. And I've gotten hurt and I haven't been able to run. And you've inspired me to figure out maybe it's the weight training, maybe
Yeah.
I need to cross train and just get my leg muscles. So I'm gonna really look into that after
Oh
the
yeah.
interview. But one thing I'm curious, Aaron, when I was preparing for this interview, I didn't find many interviews with you. I couldn't find anything if you've been interviewed, and I'm like,
Yeah.
here's one of the greatest athletes in the history in Western Virginia, and I could find nothing on you. And you have not done many interviews over the years, have you?
No, I have not. But I've Googled myself before, and there's lots of stuff. There are things that would come up in blogs, and I was like, I wonder if people like really what their take home message was around all this. And there was a lot of stuff, kind of negative. Yeah, like that's where I realized if you Google yourself and you read all this stuff that's not even true, that's when I stopped believing anything I read online.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like this kind of thing is really the only true this is like about this is as close as you can get to the primary source of information is a podcast with the person who,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, everything else is just kind of whatever. But yeah, I think I just, I fly under the radar. I'm not much of, I don't get myself out there. I'm really not much of of an attention seeker. I
Yeah.
prefer a very private life.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I'm at a point in my life where I would love to share
Yeah.
anything that can help other people, like this whole thing around strength training to keep, because yeah, I mean, you can do this running thing forever if you treat your body right. And there's things like the platelet-rich plasma. There's all this stuff out here that can help you stay healthy and do what you love to do for a really long time. So for me, that's why I would want to do something like this.
Oh, I mean, this has been amazing. I did want to ask you one question. What mile pace do you enjoy these days when you go running?
When I go running, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
probably running like when I just ran this morning. I did 6 miles just around the neighborhood. I go right out my front door and I go like about a 7:10 pace.
that's still really fast.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just because honestly, I feel like it is this strength training. It just your running economy gets so much better. I feel stronger than I've ever felt as a runner. I always felt like I was just on the verge. I was just kind of hoping, just on the verge of some tweak, and then if there was some tweak, what do I do? And I had no idea what to do if there was a tweak. I just kind of hope that it doesn't turn into something. Maybe I take a day off. Like I was looking back at some of my old running journals, and I say like, a little thing in my foot, so I didn't run, or I did keep running. It's just like I knew there's no introduction of or integration of any other therapies or exercises or anything. And so to me, I'm loving running in a whole different way now
Yeah.
because it feels better when
Yeah.
you're stronger.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're still running. I'm glad you're doing well. You look great. This has been so awesome talking to you. I can't wait to share it with, we have these Facebook groups, Nova Legends, that are tied to the podcast.
Okay.
And a lot of people have asked, when are you going to interview Erin Keogh? And I'm like, and so when I saw David was connected to you, I'm like, oh my God, this might be easier than I thought. So I'm so thankful that you decided to talk to me. Because I don't think you, as you said, do this very often.
I
Um,
don't. I'm
yeah,
so thankful that you reached out. This has been great.
this has been great, and I hope you don't mind if every once in a while, if I reach back about this platelet-rich plasma,
Sure.
I might be taking you up on that. So
Yep.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
yeah,
There's lots of stuff like that. Yep.
yeah. Anyway, this has been great. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aaron. Take
All
care.
right. Bye bye.